Welcome to another episode of the News Roundup. On today's show, we're going to be discussing the European Members of Parliament's call for immediate ouster of the European Commission President due to conflicts of interest with Pfizer and the mass COVID-19 vaccination program. We're going to discuss what is going on here. But first, a little house cleaning. See, for those of you sharp eagle-eyed fans of this channel, you may have noticed we didn't have a news roundup last week. Well, this was because we had an episode pulled for what was titled as misinformation. See, earlier this month we did an episode on myocarditis. Now, this episode was pulled for ostensibly violating YouTube's medical misinformation policy. Now, of course, we appealed, and after a bit of back and forth for a week discussing the matter with the support team, we were able to have the decision reversed. So a thank you to the staff at YouTube that we spoke with for taking a look into the matter for us. This video, which if you haven't yet seen, we'll link to in the description below. But essentially, the video covered some deadly myocarditis cases post-vaccination in 2 teen boys. Now, why this story is important is because the World Health Organization's Global Advisory Committee on Vaccine Safety, or the GACVS COVID-19 Subcommittee, reviewed all available information to date back in July of 2021 and noted the following. First, they said that the benefits of mRNA COVID-19 vaccines outweigh the risks in reducing hospitalizations and deaths due to COVID-19 infections. But they also noted that very rare cases of myocarditis and pericarditis have been observed following vaccination with the mRNA COVID-19 vaccines. These cases occurred more often in younger men and after the second dose of the vaccine, typically within a few days after vaccination. Current evidence suggests a likely causal association between myocarditis and the mRNA vaccines. The WHO also says that available data suggest that the immediate course of myocarditis and pericarditis following vaccination is generally mild and responds to conservative treatment, meaning rest, treatment with non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, etc. Follow-up is ongoing to determine long-term outcomes. Now, in this same World Health Organization article, they also went on to say that although rare, vaccinated individuals should be instructed to seek immediate medical attention if they develop symptoms indicative of myocarditis or pericarditis, such as new onset and persisting chest pain, shortness of breath, or palpitations following vaccination. Clinicians should be aware of the risk of myocarditis and pericarditis with mRNA vaccines, and those most likely to be affected. They should be alert to presentations such as acute chest pain, shortness of breath, and palpitations that may be suggestive of myocarditis after vaccination, especially in adolescent or young males. Coronary events are less likely to be the source of such symptoms among younger people. Now, essentially what is being said here by the WHO is that, although rare, one should be on the lookout for such symptoms and should take immediate steps to seek medical attention if they do crop up, rather than just ignoring the issue, which of course was the purpose of this previous episode. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to see the whole story in detail, it will be linked in the description below. That being said, I just want to reiterate how much I appreciate you all being here with us. It means a great deal to me personally. It means a lot for all the support and feedback that we get from you guys, and I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you. In the meantime, we have a story to cover on the conflict of interest accusation from some European members of Parliament against the Commission's president. And so from Trial Site News, I am Adrian, and our episode starts now. So, an independent group of European Members of Parliament, or MEPs for short, has called for the immediate resignation of the European Commission's President, Ursula von der Leyen. Now, this group is led by an American-educated Romanian and members from France, Lithuania, and Croatia. The group is demanding the immediate ouster of Ms. von der Leyen due to several charges of conflicts of interests, ethic violations, and breaches of the public trust. Now, this independent group had a strong message for their colleagues in the European Parliament as well as for the public of Europe. Essentially, what they are demanding is the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen must go due to a variety of bombshell charges. They also allege that Ms. von der Leyen is part of an unprecedented industry-government collusion, leading to what they describe as a gigantic COVID-19 scientific fraud and propaganda campaign that cause and continue to cause massive violations of human rights and freedom, and is a threat to the democracy in Europe. To bolster their argument, the group has raised several allegations of conflicts of interest and ethics violations, thus raising the urgent demand for her resignation. See, the European Commission President had private conversations with Pfizer's Albert Bourla, as reported by Fortune, negotiating portions of the massive Europe-wide vaccine deal via private text, which does seem rather odd. Now, while some of those texts were disclosed, significant chunks have not yet, and the European members of Parliament are demanding disclosure now. Now, according to this group, the opaque and nebulous nature of von der Leyen's actions raises troubling questions about intentions and motives. The breakaway European members of Parliament declare that a combination of her lack of willingness to share full details, combined with the elements of the Pfizer contract with Europe, represent a clear and compelling case for termination. For example, they point out that as part of the agreement with Pfizer and the European government would be required to serve as a sort of marketing and communication arm of the company. Yet the governments were paying for the vaccine and now would be required to socialize the costs for ongoing communications while also serving as regulatory and overseer of all healthcare operations. The argument here is that this is at best a questionable role for the government, given conflicts of interest, since they also serve as regulator and health agency. In this way, Pfizer was able to externalize the costs of business development, marketing, and sales during the pandemic, which then would lead to Pfizer generating nearly $30 billion in just the first year of the vaccine. Now, the breakaway European members of Parliament also argue that this has played a large role in the dismissal of other off-label approaches in early care. The accusation here is that any approach that wasn't vaccination was immediately ignored due to the contractual terms that bound the authorities of Europe. Now, also interesting, other alleged misdeeds or conflicts of interest also include the president's husband, who has extensive dealings with biotech market development in Europe. It should also be noted that Ms. von der Leyen, who was named president in 2019, isn't new to controversy, as at the onset of her tenure, critics accused her almost out the gate of being anything from a closet feminist to bossy career woman, with her detractors painting conflicting pictures of the German politician. In any case, we of course will be keeping an eye on this story, and we'll keep you posted on it as it continues to develop. And that, my friends, brings our episode to a close once more. As always, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. From Trial Site News, I am Adrian, and I will see you all next time.